Right, today's topic is factoring trinomials where a is greater than 1. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, we have a normal trinomial written out. It would be written as ax squared plus bx plus c, right? And our a would be our leading coefficient, right? Our first number that comes in front of our x squared. So if we have something like where it's x squared plus 5x plus 4, right? Then there would be a number in front here of our x. In this case, it's 1, but there could be something else. But what if it's not 1? And what if it's something that's cannot be divided amongst the other problems? So, for example, let's say we have 2x squared minus 3x minus 9. Okay. So our first step, I'm going to rewrite that a little lower. 2x squared minus 3x minus 9, right? So our first step is to, if you look right, normally you would divide everything by the 2. But in this case, we have a 3 and a 9 that can't be divided by 2 evenly, right? So in this case, we have to do it a different way. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our first and our last number, and we're going to multiply them together. So we're going to multiply these numbers together, right? So if we do 2 times 9, it would be 18, right? And because we have a minus in front of this 9, it's going to be negative 18, right? So now I need two numbers that multiply to negative 18 that also subtract to 3, okay? So what numbers multiply to 18? Well, we know that's 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and 3 and 6, right? So which one of these, when I subtract them, gives me a negative 3, okay? Well, we know, well, if you go through and subtract all of these, the only one that works out is this, because you have 3 minus 6, and that gives us a negative 3, which is what I want. I want a negative 3 here, so I do 3 minus 6, right? So we set it up as we normally do with our x in front, okay? Now it's a minus minus, which means that our symbol is going to be plus minus. If we look, to get our negative 3, right, because it's negative, our 6, our bigger number has to be a negative, so our 3 will be with the plus, and our 6 will be with a negative here, right? So remember, when it's minus minus, our symbols are plus minus because they have to multiply to get a negative number, which means that you have to have a 1 positive and 1 negative. And because our number here in the middle is a negative, that means our bigger number that we have out of these has to be with the minus, okay? So that's our first step, or our second, or whatever, next step. Now, what we do next is we take our first number here, right, 2, and we're going to divide each of our numbers here by 2, okay? So I'm just going to divide each of those by 2, right? Now, if I look at my first example here, the 3 and the 2, okay? If I do 3 divided by 2, it doesn't give me an even number, okay? So what I have to do is I'm going to take my, if it doesn't work out, I'm going to take my 2, and I'm going to slide it back in front of my x here, and rewrite this as 2x and then plus 3, okay? So I'm just taking my 2 because I can't divide it, put it back in front of the x, leaving it like this, all right? Now my next one, 6 divided by 2, well, I know what 6 divided by 2 is. It's 3, right? So I bring down x, that's a minus there, minus 3, and that's my final answer, okay? So, recap, right? It's a quick recap. Can't divide by 2, so I multiply my first and last numbers to get negative 18. I have two numbers that multiply to 18. Okay, so 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6, all multiply 18. What subtracts to give me 3? 3 and 6. If I do 3 minus 6, I get negative 3, which is what I want. 2 parentheses, I have my 3 and my 6 here. I take my leading coefficient, I divide by my leading coefficient. 3 divided by 2 does not work out evenly, so I move my 2 back up front to the x to get 2x plus 3. 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. The x and the minus come down as such. Okay. Alright, next one. Let's do 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. All right, so here, once again, I have a 2 in front. I got 7 and 3. Doesn't work out to divide, right? So first step, multiply. So 2 times 3, right? We're going to do almost in the right times, or times, and I get 6, right? 2 times 3 is 6. We got positives all around, so we're good. So what multiplies to 6? I have 1 times 6 and 2 times 3, right? Now, these ones, which one can I add to get me 7? Well, I know it has to be 1 and 6 is 1 plus 6 gives me 7, okay? So, do parentheses. X is in front, okay? Now, my signs are plus, plus, so my signs here are plus and plus. And the numbers I'm using are 1 and 6 because 1 times 6 is 6, 1 plus 6 is 7. So 1 and 6. Let's go ahead, let's reverse that. Let's do 6 and 1, right? All right, so now, next step is to go ahead and take my lead coefficient, my 2. I'm going to divide each number here by 2. Okay, so if I do that, I do 6 divided by 2. I can do that. That gives me 3. So I'm going to rewrite down here. All right, and then this one, 1 divided by 2. Well, that doesn't give me an even number, right? 1 divided, I can't really do that. So because I can't do that, I take my 2, I put it back up here, and do 2x plus 1. Sorry, the premature parenthesis there. Okay, so 2x plus 1. Okay. So it's a simple thing. All right, it's not super complicated if you know what you're doing with factoring trinomials, right? Just remember, multiply the first 2, get your number here. Right, 1 times 6, 2 times 3 is what multiplies to this. What will add to give me 7? 1 and 6 is 1 plus 6 is 7. I put those numbers here in my parentheses. I divide each by my coefficient 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 1 divided by 2, can't do that, so I put it up in front of the 2. In front of the x, I get 2x plus 1. (6x squared minus 13x plus 6). All right. So once again, because I have 13 in the middle, so I can't divide anything by 6. Okay. So I multiply. When I do that, what do I do times? All right. Well, you know by now, right? So 6 times 6 gives me 36. So what multiplies to 36, right? So I have 1 times 36. I have 2 times 18. I have 3 times 12. I have 4 times 9. I have 6 times 6. Okay, so all of these things all multiply to 36, right? Now, if you look, I have a plus here, which means you have to add to 13, okay? So which one of these numbers, when you add it, gets us 13? Well, that would be this one here, because 4 plus 9 equals 13, right? And that's what I want. So, I got my parentheses. I got my x and my x. Now my signs are minus and a plus. So I know, because it's minus plus, I have to have a minus and a minus here. Because I have to add to get a negative number. That's why it's that. So my numbers here are 4 and 9. They're both minus, so it doesn't matter which one I put them in. So now here, I can go ahead, take my lead coefficient, which is 6, and divide each number of these numbers by 6. Now when I do that, if you look, they both don't really work out, right? 4 divided by 6, 9 divided by 6, right? But what I can do is I can reduce these numbers, okay? So if it doesn't work out, I can reduce all right, if it doesn't work out, okay? So, what can I divide both 4 and 6 by, okay? Well, I know I can divide each of them by 2. So if I do that, I have 2 and 3, okay? If I were to divide it by, right? because I can do 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. That's how I get 2 and 3. Okay, I can divide each one by 2. For here, 9 and 6, what can I divide each one by? Well, I can divide each one by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So here, I have 3 and 2, right? So now, they're smaller. I can go ahead and try to actually divide them. But you look, 2 and 3 I can't divide, right? I can't do 2 divided by 3, so I'm going to put my 3 back in front of my x to get 3x, and then minus 2. And then here, I can't do 3 and 2, right, divide, so I'm going to move my 2 back in front here to get 2x, and then minus 3. Okay, so this one's a little different, right? So after you've done what we have been doing, right, what multiplies to 36 adds to 13, right, we got the 4 and 9, got the minuses in both, okay? Now, here, I can reduce, right, divide each of them by 2 to get 2 and 3, and here, divide each of these by 3 to get 3 and 2. I can't divide either of these, so I'm going to move both numbers in front and leave that with my final answer, okay?